verbally. Oh, did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
All right, so it must be where people were saying, "Wait, I didn't know it was being recorded." I just do it in case somebody asks me for things and be able to see what they missed. All right. All right, so what we've got here is going back. I think we left off, and if you guys haven't seen these, some of these are pretty. We're doing the 25 ways to get your offer accepted, and so we are going to like right here. And so I don't know if I want to do present mode, but I guess we could, so you guys could see the bigger screen. All right, so this was interesting. I know Jared James was teaching a couple things on this, and listening to it the last couple weeks, and some of them are really basic. Some of them I don't think we really have some stuff that we really deal with. But because maybe parts of the country, maybe it's a larger tax. Does anybody know what the tax is for a seller to pay tax when they ask you? So here's what it is. It's $1.10 per thousand. Okay. And it's been that way a long time. So if somebody asks you and says, "Hey, what is this?" Because it says right there in the contract, seller to pay county transfer tax, and you're like, "Well, what is the county transfer tax?" And so they'll that's a big one that they always ask me, and they always ask me when the seller sees it about the natural hazard disclosure. Well, how much is that going to cost? Well, I say $99. Okay, that's no big deal. So I mean, these are things that kind of add up. But when you're looking at $1 million house, then it's a $1,000, $1,500 worth of monies on that tax. So that could just be something. I've never done it before, because I think some parts of the country, they might have a larger, he was saying 2% tax and stuff on certain things. So that could be something to look into. But certainly when you do these kind of things, you need to really deeply and explain, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, let the other agent know kind of what we're doing. So paying, a sales tax if you want. I thought this was kind of an interesting one too, about covering some moving costs. Because a lot of the times that, when they're getting multiple offers and they're getting different things, that the higher the offer goes, well, the more commission they have to pay. The higher that offer goes, the more, the tax they would have to pay. The higher that offer goes, they're just, the more possibly could be capital gains, could be, there's all sorts of different things that they might ended up having to pay. So it was interesting when they were brought up that to cover moving costs. Now, again, I personally think that subconsciously, when people see this, and it's kind of an interesting subject when we're sitting here, teaching this, and I'm trying to teach this when I personally have lost like 3 offers in the last 7 days that we didn't get. And most of them are because it's just money, flat out money. So if I give Tim, I give you an offer of $500,000, and then Allie, I give you an offer of $490,000. But I tell Allie, oh, by the way, we're going to give you $10,000 worth of Allied or United moving costs. Just subconsciously, what does that do? I kind of like the higher number. Tim, don't you? Just the higher number? I mean, $500,000. It just, to me, when you look at that, unless you're trusting the other agent on the other side to get a net sheet and compare the net sheet straight up and say, here's your net. Now, a good agent would do that. I would strongly encourage you guys, Allie, that have listings, and Jana, if you get multiple offers, what you want to do is there's a form that actually is for multiple offers. It's a one column that you can summarize that, which we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But it's about letting them know. These are just creative ways that if it gets all the way down to somewhere where you got to listen to what the other agent says, which we're going to talk about that too. But if the other agent says, yeah, they're just worried about cost, most people, does anybody know how much anybody recently on a client been told, like they said, hey, I'm moving to Tennessee, or I'm going to move to the Bay Area, and they have a decent 2,000 square foot house full of furniture? Anybody know what the cost might be on that? No. No. So here's the deal on that, is that some of these costs, they could be anywhere from, 10, 12, 13,000, $15,000 just to move mid-country, move to Vegas, move, in different locations. Most of the place, Bay Area and stuff kind of going around here. If it's a moderate kind of size home in the trucks kind of inner California, it could be anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000. So, and some of these people that we have is that, to me, if if I'm going to pay $8,000 or 10 grand or 15 grand to have somebody pack up and move my stuff, I'm totally happy. I'm totally good. But when certain people are on a really tight budget and they find that out afterwards, they kind of freak out. So maybe you hear the seller, Tim goes, hey, Eric, I know you're going to write an offer. I go, okay, Tim, what's up? What do they need? And they say, oh man, they're moving to like, New York, and that now all of a sudden, boy, that's a long move. So how can we help and assist on that? So covering some other different moving costs could be kind of a fun, unique way. If Tim comes and tells me and starts talking to me about their seller and, the moving costs and where they're moving to, that might be something I might come up with. But again, I'm trusting Tim to go back to his client and say, Eric's going to cover your moving costs of up to $10,000, so that's where it is. Now, anybody actually do waive your appraisals, loans, inspections? Anybody have the guts to do that?
We did on one, but it took a lot of money down.
All right. So Allie, you did the appraisal one, and then but you had enough money down.
And no loan contingency. So the only contingency we had was an inspection, and we put it down to it was aggressive.
Yeah, it was aggressive. Did you get the house?
We did.
Okay, good. Because the one I just did recently, releasing appraisal contingency, they still took a cash offer, which was unfortunate, which I know we were higher. So Jana, you mentioned that you had done that before?
Well, the last offer I just made in Lake Wildwood was no loan contingency and no appraisal. And then the other one in Elderwood, over asking, no inspection contingencies, no loan, no appraisal, nothing. And 16-day close, and we still didn't get it.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, those are sad, guys. There's my client who's moving here. It closes next week. They basically took a $2.2 million non-contingency, waived everything, cash offer, and didn't. And it's just crazy what people are willing to do. So our number one thing here is to protect our buyer. So we want to protect them, but they also need to understand. You guys will realize that our buyers will get more aggressive after they lose 2, 3, 4 houses. And it gets depressing. And so like I was sharing with the new buyer yesterday that I just met, I said, look, guys, I wanted to let you know what's kind of happening right now. And I'm kind of setting that up. So I'm going, hey, Allie, this is what's going to happen. I know we're going to do our very best. I've been, learning and training and doing this all the time about what we can do, what we can get in to beat it out these other offers. But I will tell you right now that if a cash offer comes in, which it could be 15 to 20% of the buyers are paying cash, we are, it's just nothing we can do. Just really nothing we can do. So I'm just trying to set some expectations so Allie just doesn't come back to me, which I've had buyers in complete tears and swear words and it's just kind of a sad thing when they just don't get it. And I know we're set up for another failure today, and I know we lost one yesterday because my client would, it's crazy. It's 75 grand over asking, and we only went 50 grand, and he doesn't want to go any higher. So that makes me feel better that Tim, do you want to go any higher? Nope, I don't want to go any higher. Okay, great. Then we're done. But when they give all they can and throw in grandkids and throw in pets and stuff, and then all of a sudden they don't get it, it's really depressing, and they cry. So I would say, so Allie hit it right on the head there, Tim, for us, is that the appraisal, if they came in with so much money, so in this case, if they came in with $500,000, or it was a $500,000 home that came for $250,000 in, and maybe Kaylee could probably chime in there, but if it's a conventional financing, Kaylee, do we have, if their appraisal comes in low and the buyer's willing to go higher than the appraisal, are we kind of most of the time clear if they've got at least 50% down? Is there a magic number?
Hi, Eric, it's Treya too.
Oh, hello, Treya.
Yep, we're driving, sorry. So we missed.
You guys are going to Disneyland.
I wish. Oh my gosh. Close. It's the Bar Meadows office. I mean,
yeah, that's
that about like Disneyland? Yeah, it's magic.
It's a happy place.
Yeah. So we missed the first 10 minutes of the meeting because we
No
couldn't
worries.
connect. But what was the question?
Question is there a magic number if if you guys had a buyer who was bringing in significant amount of down and the appraisal, we released the appraisal contingency and the buyer was happy to pay that price for the house, is there like, is it 50% down? I know 20% down conventional, would maybe a lender in some cases, if the appraisal came in 5, 10, $15,000 more, would they go for it? Is there a magic number that you're seeing?
They just have to cover whatever the overage is from the appraisal. So if the house appraises for 500,000 and they are having to pay 575, they have to come up with the 75 to cover that.
Is that, so if they were even coming up, well, let's say
Overage.
if they were putting $250,000 down, they still would have to bring in 75,000 additional dollars, even if they're putting in 250 down, half down?
Well, that's actually a good question. Probably not, because it would then cover that overage.
So
That
as
makes
long as
sense.
it's more, so what you're saying that is maybe a conventional, if they're putting 20% down and you have a $75,000 over, then they probably would have to put 20% down plus the $75,000 shortage in this example.
Right. It just that whatever they, that shortage has to be made up somewhere with cash. So sometimes not in this market, but I have had that happen. You know, we split the difference or whatever, individual circumstance and how much they're bringing in and how, you know, then. But I don't know that there's a magic number so much as it's just how does the math add up?
Okay. And on your FHA and VA clause there, pretty much they would have to bring in totally would have to bring in the difference, right? There's no way to get around that. I mean, FHA, VA are pretty hard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we don't want to say go and get cash offers, because then you guys are out of a job, right?
We see a lot of those though, and then we've seen some turn into, hey, I want to save some of my cash and I'm gonna get lending on a portion.
No, that's true. I had one that we wrote a cash offer. And
Yeah, it just depends on the individual circumstances.
Okay. Some other alternatives here, guys, is just if you can't get the appraisal or don't want to feel comfortable releasing the appraisal and the loan, and then shorten your timeframes. Shorten your timeframes to inspections from 17 to 14. Please talk to your lender friends. If you're going to don't shorten the appraisal contingency unless you talk to your lender first before you do that. And it just depends on where it's at. Certainly, if they have an outside of the area lender, don't touch the appraisal, because it just won't happen. So there's things that you can do. I oftentimes shorten my time frame of my inspections. I know I can get them done in 14 days, 10 days. And I know there are some rules and regulations out there. So if you guys ever get an offer that they might say, you have 5 days to do inspections or 3 days or something, I know that there's kind of some law out there that kind of says, well, what is an ample time for someone to inspect the property? But I've only seen, the quickest I've ever seen is 7 days. Or if I got a house that we wrote an offer on the other day that had all the inspections done, that doesn't mean that Tim, it doesn't mean that I have to accept all of those. So Tim might want to go and say, well, Tim, certainly let's go ahead and put an offer on this property, but you certainly have the right to do other inspections, but just watch the verbiage that they actually state. And so on my offer, I wrote that buyer has read all of the attached MLS disclosures and reports. I was very careful. I didn't say that my buyer has approved them. I just said that they've read, them. So just other little things. I don't know how the other agent would interpret that, but at least that the seller is aware that, hey, we have reviewed them and have seen them. Because in some cases on some of these offers, that make sure you're looking at the MLS little attached documents, because there was one I wrote an offer and did not see that the pest was already in there, and so the agents, oh well, you did see the pest, right? And I go, not really. So and we already wrote the offer. So anyway, shorten some time frames if you want, waive some contingencies, but be ask your professionals of your lenders and friends before you even go near that road. But certainly if it was something at 50, 60 or 70, or if the seller just said, buyer said, hey, I just want this house no matter what, and will you cover the difference? Because you guys will see the counter offer I got yesterday was she actually put on there that the buyer to cover all extra appraisal, from original purchase price. And so that was like a $75,000 swing. And so my buyer, just said, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. So it was on a multiple counter offer. So we'll see if anybody else feels comfortable, but generally you will find someone to do that. And really what we're doing here, guys, is that if you have like a $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 deposit, that's really all you're jeopardizing. So if you get into a contract and you just say, I'm going to just take this multiple counter offer, I'm just going to go for it, I'm all in, and something happens, you just let your buyer know, look, guys, the only thing we really have here is $5,000 that's on the table. So if, obviously $5,000 is $5,000, and some people, that's okay. And if I lose it, I lose it. But, and so that's, when it comes down to that, some people always get kind of carried away going, oh, well, that I can't sign that. I can't sign that. But think about what the negative is, or what's the worst case scenario here. And I always come back and let them know that, hey, this is where we're at. But it gets a little scary that as you guys are dealing with, first time home buyers and people that are like, every penny counts, and they, this is, and then you're sitting here just throwing away money. So you got to be careful on your verbiage and your wording on that. So I would only use that verbiage if I knew that they were more affluent and could stand losing that money if push came to shove at the very end. So that's what we got there. All right. How many people have ever received a contract and realized that half the stuff was missing? Quarter of the stuff, a few things. There's oftentimes though, if you, it was funny that there's in a listing agreement, there is dates that you guys need to put in the listing agreement. And there was one time a client of mine called me and goes, Eric, what's the listing that we're taking on this? Cause it's all blank. And so, it's like, it happens to me, there's blanks in there. There was an offer that we wrote last week that the agent kept saying, oh yeah, it looks like we're pretty set up, but this other agent, I feel like I have to keep telling him and show him what he has to do and changing the verbiage. And he's given me 3 different editions on the contract because he keeps missing certain things and they weren't filled out properly. And so that agent was just fed up and says, please just bring me another offer that I can trust that agent. And I can just say, boom, this is what it is. So, fill in the blanks. Don't just assume that they're going to fill them in for you. And maybe Kaylee and Taylor, if you guys actually could answer this question on this about county transfer taxes and Nevada county transfer tax. I do most of my sales outside of the city limits, so I generally don't mark city limits. But does anybody know if I'm actually in the city, is there Nevada county fees and taxes as well as city transfer tax at the same time?
Yeah, sorry. We were muted. I'm talking. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
There's always the Nevada County transfer tax.
Yeah. So if you put seller to pay both, or in this case, if you want, to put a buyer, but so generally I just do Nevada, and then when it is in the city, and sometimes actually you'll get offers that in the rural areas that some people actually only do cities, or they're coming up from Sacramento or somewhere, and they'll put, seller to pay city transfer tax. Well, there isn't a city transfer tax. So, there sometimes, I don't know, lenders, you guys sometimes come back and have us mark that out. Sometimes I might counter that out and just say, hey, there's no city tax here. But then I don't want to embarrass the other agent as well by saying, hey, Tim, there's no city tax. Hey, Tim, you don't have to do this. Hey, Tim, you didn't. And I'm putting this on the counter offer. So you just all this stuff, dates and all these things. And all of a sudden then their buyer kind of goes, wow, did you really miss all of those little boxes? So again, it's not our job to fill them in, but those who are new, yes, have people review your contract and zip through it. You can send it to me, send it to Jim. They can just kind of quickly go through it and actually take a look at it too. So just fill in the blanks, don't leave them there. And I think that leads us right to this one. I don't know if somebody had received a handwritten offer and addendum lately. I've had one maybe a year ago, which was surprising to me. That was just printed out all the paper and then they just hand wrote it all in. Does anybody have handwriting that looks about like this? Mine looks Mine actually looks a little bit better than this. So just be careful on that one. It was one Jared James has. I think pretty much now in DocuSign, everything, it's pretty much pretty simple, and you just have type it all in. But occasionally you're going to get some sellers that want to fill out your TDS and SPQ, and you can't even read them. So it's just so much nicer not to have those. All right. Has anybody had an experience where you write an offer and say that the buyer will pay the buyer's agent's commission or all commissions? Why would we want to do that? Anybody know? I've seen it twice, and most of the time they're on high-end houses, and they've been both on Lake of the Pines, on lakefront homes. Basically, it's keeping the tax base down is really what it is. So I've had a buyer just come in and say, that they would pay the commissions, or they would pay the commissions to get a lower price on the house. So then they would be paying less property taxes for years and years to come. So it just basically, as long as everybody is aware of it and it's all in writing, and you just put it in a contract and you can just go for it, and that's it. I don't know if that actually has to show up in concessions. I'm not, it probably should, but I don't know if it ever really does. But you can say that, hey, again, this is a desperate buyer who wants to get a house, and say, hey, I just want you to know that I'm going to be paying. And I know Jim mentioned some stuff brewing that's going to be happening on commissions, where we're going to have to be maybe negotiating our commissions on the buying side and selling side too. But it just, again, guys, it's something that if you get to the point and you get an offer that they say, hey, we want to pay all your commissions, it's legal, it's totally fine. But generally it's some savvy person that's buying over $1 million house that wants their and paying $50,000 just to be able to get a lower tax base on their property taxes for years to come. So that is one there. Over communicate. You guys like to communicate? I know Kaylee loves to communicate. So, and she does a great job when she does texts and emails and stuff on that. So this is what I mean by this. I will tell you, I've lost a buyer or an opportunity to get in when I was busy, and I showed a property in the morning, and I knew we were going to write an offer on the property. And this is years ago too. And I did not communicate that with the agent till I got back to the office, maybe about 3 or 4 hours later. And they said, oh, sorry, Rick, we just accepted an offer. So I wish I would have known that you were putting an offer on the table. So if you guys know you're writing an offer, immediately text, especially in today's market, immediately text, immediately call. I'm more of a fan, like, if I know Allie and I'm putting an offer on Allie's house, I'm just going to probably text Allie and say, Allie, they love the home. We're going to be putting an offer in it. Allie's going to say, great, look forward to seeing it. If I don't know Kaylee or don't know the other agent, I'm probably picking up the phone and letting them know, because now what we're doing is we're actually building this communication level. I know my wife was reading an email the other day, and an offer that we got, it says, and the lady, it was multiple offers, and the agent put your favorite offer. So I thought that, and she thought that was really kind of clever, because it kind of popped up and to the top, and that actually was the case. And I really kind of liked it, and subconsciously, somehow that kind of stuck, and then we were able to get that one together, and she's the one that got the offer. But communicating with the other side and say, Allie, I'm bringing you an offer. Just want to check in with you. And I always like to say, how many offers do you have? Are they over asking? Any cash offers? Those are basically free questions and free game to ask. And then you communicate and say, okay, now, and there's been times as well where I've sent out a counter offer in an email, and they didn't respond to me. I never sent them an email. I never sent a text. I never picked up the phone. I just sent the email saying, congratulations, they're accepting your offer. Well, she didn't see it. She missed it. She even missed the email that was CC'd back from the title officer saying, congratulations, here's the escrow number. And a week later, I text her some other verbiage or something, or no, what happened is she got some disclosure sent to her email that she saw them like 5 days later. And she said, did we get the offer? Did we get it accepted? Oh, I didn't know we got it accepted. And so what if that buyer would have went off and bought something else? And it was luckily everything went fine. It closed last week, but we were about 7 days behind because I didn't pick up the phone. I just relied on communication. The escrow officer sent something to her. So sometimes just picking up the phone and just calling and talking to them, especially in a multiple offer situation that you just want to start building relationship with that agent. And I love it. I know Kaylee and they'll actually send out and reach out to to the offer as well, and call them or email them and send them a video and say, hey, just want you to know, you want to see who you're working with. And I love that years ago when I learned that it's not just the buyer, it's not just the 6 offers that you actually have on the table and they get to choose one. It's about the whole package. It's about what agent's going to be helping you, what lender's going to be helping you, what escrow officer is out there. So they some of the time these listing agents want to know the whole picture and get to know, like, who are they going to work with? Do they feel comfortable with that? Because I think we talked about it. It's just in a small world. That's a Disneyland thing. But in a small world, they if you burn a bridge, they're going to remember that bridge. And so, and they're, so you just want to like communicate with them. And during I've sent a few texts to an agent that we've just put an offer in yesterday, just checking in. How are things going? How many other offers do you have at the moment? Just checking in. Do we need to raise our offer? I'm trying to like put these little small things in there so they'll actually, hopefully answer some things, and maybe they won't answer like price points and stuff, but I'll just say, is there anything else we need to do? How are we looking? Other offers on the table, any of them cash that have come in so far. So I'm just communicating during that 2 or 3 day process with them. And then obviously after you get the offer, then you just completely, say, if you get the email saying you're the one, then just, call them up and say, thank you so much for, for picking us. And we're super excited. So I think that was Jared James says that closed mouths can't be fed. So I thought that was cute. But so we want to basically just let them know and just over communicate. So any questions about communication? All right. Make it easy for the agent and the seller. How many people have ever, the other day I got and now this is just a pro tip for you guys that are starting, that I received a request to repairs that was on the request to repair sheet that had about 20 numbers associated with the home inspection. And she just emailed me something, so I'm curious to see what she said, but it was like item 1B3, item 236, item 4.6. And I'm thinking, this is like, do I really have time to go itemize every single one? And now I have to go get the contract, and I got to go, okay, now what was item 1, 2? Okay, what was that? So what I did for my seller, by the way, before I just sent him that piece of paper, the ridiculous piece of paper, I printed the home inspection and I went in and highlighted in yellow. And then I just basically took only the copies of the home inspection that had one of the items they requested and put that and scan that to them and says, here's the piece of paper, but just don't even look at that. Go straight on to the PDF and look at the color highlighted coded numbers that I've like circled there for you. These are the items that they're wanting. Here's my prediction that it would probably take a half a day for a pest guy, or a half a day for an electrician, a quarter of the day for a plumber. Let's just give them $1,000 and have them, kind of go away. So, but that was full on like summarizing it. So when you get an offer and you get like a bunch of offers that just says, here's an offer, congratulations, let me know how we are, then, but don't do that. So you guys would come in and say, okay, I just want to give you a summary. Here is our purchase price, 500,000. Here's our down payment, $50,000. Here's our conventional financing. Here's our lender, who's a local lender. Here is our, our contingency time frame. So you're really breaking it down. So in today's busy world, and that agent's going to get 10 offers, they can see the summary and they'll go, thank you so much for that summary. Appreciate it. So then they can just pass on to that and then quickly know that. Sometimes though, guys, is that when I put an offer in on a home, in the subject line, I might put a $50,000 over asking offer on 121 Main Street, something of that straight, or offer on Main Street, $50,000 over asking, just so people see that. Because I had 14 offers on a home in Loomis last year that I was getting confused. There was one offer that I didn't even know I even had, until all of a sudden he started communicating me after, maybe and during, just saying, checking up on how things are going. So I completely even missed that we had 14 offers instead of 13. So, but put in there so then who that is, and then in the subject line, offer on, and I usually just put, you know, a $550,000 offer that we wrote yesterday on a $510,000 house, just so they could see immediately. They didn't have to even go look at the offer to say, you know, what are they offering? What are they offering? And scroll down. They just see it right up. So give some type of summary. You guys, obviously, you know that I love video. And I will, let's see if I could come out of this one. So this one, can you guys see this one here? Again, I think I shared this with, has everybody seen the way I present my offers and on video? Do I need to play it so it's good? So basically they can come here and I go through and I just share my screen. You guys can go to Loom, LOOM.com, and just, you know, do a 5-minute little video, and you can just share your screen and it goes through. See, this only was like a 1 minute. I just hit the highlights about a little bit about the person and the party and stuff. But then this is the type of response that you get back right here. Thank you so much. Love the video presentation as well. Smiley face. I'll share that with my sellers tomorrow. So did I make a better impression? You know, did I, you know, yes, you know, you did. I could have just sent off and said, here's an offer. Now, I will tell you though, guys, since our age, I love when now we got Tim and everybody and Allie, you guys are all the young ones, but I think our age was some crazy in Nevada County, 60 something, 65 years old, or average age of a realtor here. And it was a crazy number. So the deal is, if I'm sending this something to certain names, I will not mention, but if I'm sending this to them, I know they're going to have a hard time with the video because they just aren't going to play my video because maybe they can't have technology and maybe they'd have a flip phone or something. I might come in here and put this here, and then I might summarize right down below of the summary of the offer. So, and it's interesting when I do this, and I'll send over an offer. I do this too with my sellers if they're out of the area, and I will go, okay, guys, here's the highlights of our offer. Boom, 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 boom. And then I get a bunch of questions back. Go, well, what is it? What about that? What about that? And I go, obviously didn't watch my video because I did present that in the video, or I did answer those questions. So I did that. I list probably half the homes I list right now, guys, are people I've never met. I never will meet. They just find me online and they're selling a second home or something, and I'll never meet them. And so I do this. I'll just say, guys, here's the offer. Here's the listing presentation. Here's the listing paperwork, 30 days, 60, whatever, and just kind of go through. So I'm sharing that, but I'm getting all these wonderful, wonderful little emails down below that after we do that. So that is important. So if you can do some video, that's great. It just makes people feel a little bit like they know you a little bit more. Let's see. I guess we have a few. Oh, we only have one more, so I won't go
One
big
thing,
here.
Eric, I was just going to tag on to what you were saying about doing the overview is that I've noticed that agents will skim the offers quickly sometimes, especially if they have multiple. And so if you don't do the summary, they might miss if you shorten the contingency, or if you put additional terms like offering rent back or something like that, it might get overlooked. And that could have been something that, you know, made you stand out more.
Yeah, and it kind of frustrates me because we can't do the job of the other agent. And Allie, that it does frustrate me on one that I have a buyer been looking for probably its second home in Lake of the Pines, probably for 9 months. We've gone through 3. He's very particular. I think we've lost 4 deals, most of it because he won't go any higher than what he should. But one of them, though, that she called me about 2 weeks after we were in backup position saying, okay, are you guys ready to go? Because I think this is falling apart. I think it's falling apart. And I find out that she's telling me that she goes, yeah, you know, the only reason why, and I wish we wouldn't have taken this offer, but I wish we would have taken your offer. But I know that the key there is that they had that free rent back. Now, how bad did I push it when I realized that we also had the free rent back and she missed that? And I actually even had that on my video in my presentation of sharing them that we would give you the free rent back. So because she didn't listen or didn't see that, then obviously they felt that we weren't even offering that. So it is that full communication. So I totally agree with that. So thank you for sharing that on that. But video, I can talk way better than I can type. And so I just like to do it just because it's a little bit easier for me. All right. So, and then my last thing here on number 16 that we want to talk about is just ask, the agent of what the seller needs, so what type of things do you guys see that if I would call up? So Tim, what would I ask you if you got a beautiful listing, and what type of things do you guys think that we could call up and ask?
How many
You're
offers are cash?
Yeah, how many offers are cash? Okay, how many offers you have? I love it when I put an offer or when I put a house on the market like at 12 p.m. and at 12:10 I get a call going, is the house still available? It's like, that's pretty freaky. I go, guys, I just put it on the market. Or how many offers do you have? I said, it's only been on the market for about an hour. So, you know, so people would ask how many offers that you have, are they cash? What are some of the things like, what does the buyer need? What does the seller need? Or sorry, what does the seller need? And so you'll find out that, you know, rent back, you know, they may not put that stuff in the MLS. So you need to kind of ask that and say, you know, are they looking for a replacement property? You know, do they need to stay on the property? That's why I love vacant houses, because, you know, you can do quick escrows and you can, you know, don't have to worry about 30 days or 60-day rent backs and things. So you can ask them where they're moving to. Because I've had two people actually move into Hawaii, that the sellers moved to Hawaii. And so I know then that all this personal belongings, and one moved actually back to Italy too. So I knew all the personal items were probably going to be available for sale. So you can kind of start maybe negotiating some of that during the request to repair. So there's a lot of things there, but you want to make sure you look at the agent remarks, because, you know, Allie might have a pre-open escrow with somebody. And so you say, is there an escrow? You know, you want to try to make them not counter you as the best you possibly can. So you just kind of add all those things in there and then really highlight them, because then, Tim, if you called me and you asked me about a bunch of questions and I come back with an offer, vice versa, and then I have, you know, we'll highlight what you and I spoke about on the phone. As you mentioned, here's the 30 days free rent back. As you mentioned, here is some additional funds or some whatever that they might want. So you want to ask questions, especially if you got a VA loan that might require a Section 1 and Section 2. You might want to ask, you know, are they even willing to do the pest work? You know, is that so? The only two VA loans I've been able to get through have been when the pest inspection has already been done, pre-done. So it just, in this market, getting a VA of having them pay that is crazy. So just kind of getting to know the agent and asking them, what does the seller need? You know, what do they want? You know, let's put it on paper. So there's a least amount of counters as possible to be able to go through. But what is the number one thing that's just going to make it work? The price. You know, guys, the price is what it is. And I know it's a little bit of cost of business, but I believe the appraisers have caught up a little bit now on some of these kind of high escalating prices, and they understand that we're in that kind of crazy mode. But I rather put an offer on Allie's property, accept an offer get an offer that's $75,000 over asking, and at least get it accepted. And then if the appraisal comes back later, we have the first shot at it. You know, we have got the opportunity to negotiate that. We have that if there was not a clause in there of, you know, paying extra. But so I'd just rather have that opportunity, because right now there's just too many depressed people that just aren't able to get their offers accepted. So you know, keep that in mind. Just, you know, we just basically do. So I think that is 26 or no, 19. That was 19 things. So we've got one more class of some additional things that we can do. So any questions or any thoughts that you guys had this week of being able to get a listing or get an offer accepted in contract?
I don't have questions on offers, but I do on the flip side, for if you're listing and there's so many people coming in over asking and over the appraisal, are you putting that in like your private remarks that if you're going to offer over that you want, was it the RID that they have proof of funds or ask for proof of funds?
You could do that. You know, maybe I'm too lazy. I don't put that in my comments, but it just depends on the offer. You know what, I'll put it, and make sure you go back and change those remarks. You know, if you just like people who have, if you go to the MLS right now and see pictures of a house that has snow on it, it's just not good. So the snow's already melted, then you know that the house is stale and it's been there forever. So if you make agent remarks, they accepting all offers on, I know I did that. I read that to my client the other day. I said, well, it looks like that there's no showings on like until 5/12. And I read that, and on the phone as I'm reading it, I went, wait, it's already 5/18 right now. So so they need to remove that, or remove, hey, we're looking at all offers, and then they don't have any offers. So but you could say that, hey, I'm expecting high offers. You know, I had somebody the other day that said, why'd you price the house like this? Are you really think that are you going to get bidding wars? I said, look, you haven't come, you need to come see it. I know my photographer does a great job, but come see the property. And yes, we didn't get multiple offers. We didn't get like over asking or anything, but, you know, but because it just, you know, some houses just don't really fit that need, but you can, if you get an offer that is substantially over the asking price, I would start asking questions about, can they afford anything over, and probably counter that. Because if you don't, then you might have picked the wrong offer. And so you could, some agents, they're getting smarter a little bit. So Tim, they're actually writing an offer and saying, I'm going to give you this $500,000 offer. And I know it's only 475. And they're writing in the offer that they will pay immediately. Just put it in the contract. So there's no counter offer, that they'll pay $25,000 over the appraised value, not to exceed blank dollars. So they're putting that in the contract, which is nice, because now I know that agent's already had that conversation with that buyer, so I don't have to worry about it. So, but yes, you could come back and actually do that. We actually one time did not take this crazy offer of like so much over asking price. The agent even called me after close and said, I saw that it went for less than what we offered. And I said, look, we just, you know, we took the cash offer number. We actually went through the offer number one and took the backup offer over his offer, because we just felt that they were just being ridiculous about where they felt that property. It's almost like I mentioned that I really want to at least get into first base, so I can at least get to second base. And sometimes people will just throw out the money so hard, knowing that they're just going to come back and say, now we want $100,000 reduction, you know, after. They almost do it on purpose, which I don't think is good faith, but I've seen some agents actually do that just to get into that, to get the opportunity, even though they have no intention of paying that money for that house. But good question. All right, what else do we got? Oh, we're early, which is good, I guess. All right, you guys have enjoyable weekend. I'm gonna